Okay, really quick in this drawing lesson, I'm going to show you something that's going to help you in all your drawings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this little trick that I think can really help, okay? So let's kind of go over it. Right now I'm using Ava right here from Neon Genesis. Two versions of Ava. This is the, like the green and the red. So there's a little difference if you kind of close up and look at them. A little bit of a difference in each one, and kind of we're going to talk about what that difference is. So we take a really good look at this Ava right here, outside of the color difference. And then let's look at this one right here, the green one. So I'm going to tell you something. One thing that is different right off the bat, if you haven't seen it, is that the details are different within this one. So there's not as many details, meaning small lines, little striations. Let's zoom in. Little striations right here. Look at this area, right? And then let's go over here to the yellow, to the green. And right here, there are more striations. There's dots over here. And I want to talk about this, and you can pick any drawing you want and kind of do this. And that is, all I did was take this drawing and work on it just a bit longer. So let's kind of go into what I mean by working on it a bit longer. Let's see. So one thing that's really important to notice. So adding small details to, for example, what I want to do is I want to kind of reveal some of the curves and the shapes. That's probably the easiest thing. So maybe I'd go over here and draw maybe a line aiming up a little bit. And what that tells the viewer is that, oh, there's a little turn of a corner there on that edge. And you kind of add this everywhere. So that maybe this would have like a little bit of a deeper little edge right there. Maybe over here in this area, you could add a little bit more detail here, possibly maybe some curves around this section of Ava. Maybe a little bit of a turn right here on the, right there, a little bit of a turn. That's going to show a little bit of a squared off tooth there. Also the fact that probably the biggest thing would be exposing some of this area in the back, because I did not, see this area in the back of the mouth? I did not, that is not shown right here. And with any drawing that you have, a good idea is to kind of go back to it and spend a little bit more time on it than you would have. So for example, when you find yourself at a place where you're like, okay, I'm done, that's when you should say, okay, let's begin the final stage. And go back, start drawing maybe small lines if it's a linear drawing. Go back and see if you can put these small things, because like I said, these little additional details make it look better. It gives the viewer a subconscious view. How do you say this? Like the viewer knows what they're looking at generally. There's like the initial image, and then there's the small details like this, the tertiary details that really almost subconsciously tells the viewer that, hey, this is a high quality piece of art, that there is more work and more thought put into this, but they won't consciously know it. It's kind of a fascinating little thing, but just putting more detail in there makes the drawing a little bit more complicated and just more pleasing to look at. So that is something that you really should look out for. So like if we zoom in here, what else could we do? Maybe you can change the shape of the eye a little bit right here to maybe like just alter the shape of the eye a little bit. Maybe we can, again, add a little bevel, little curve right there, little, like right there. It's going to show another little plane, maybe even right here. You don't really want to put it everywhere per se. Maybe right here it's a little bit deeper, for example. So maybe that line will be a little bit thicker. Let's see, same thing here, especially with like this is obviously a robot design. So with the robot design, you're maybe a line right here. The robot design, there is a lot of choices. I would say there's more choices on something that's almost entirely organic, like skin. So you got like skin folds and then some. And then the topic also makes sense. So if it's maybe a monster of some kind, you're drawing more. So look at this. Let's take this. Underneath the mouth right here, you can add maybe a striation right there. Maybe there's some sort of striation in that little fold, right? It's real small. it's insignificant. It's not even something that's, some people might not even notice it, but a lot of people will. And again, it adds to the detail. That might be too thick. Hold on right there. And it adds to the overall image. All these little changes add up. And so, like I said, the cool part is you can do this to literally any image. Take an image right now that you've been working on and work a little bit more on it. Like put in little corners if it requires that. Or maybe it could be in clothing, for example. Let's just say you have like the subject would be maybe, I don't know, an attractive woman or something like that. And there's not a lot of detail in that normally, but let's say the clothes she's wearing has these kind of folds and details. You can throw these little lines, which again, expose different shapes, little different points of the surface. So maybe something like this, where what would it be here? Like maybe a thin, most of these lines, by the way, are thinner. They're not going to distract from the overall picture, right? They're not going to distract. They're going to only add. And when you draw something thin enough, like here, when you draw something thin enough, it only adds. Only adds. So that one is more detailed than this right here. But anyways, that is it. Stick around. I want you to give me an idea of what you want to learn. And we're going to be going over these lessons a couple times a week. So thanks so much.